All right, let's get started. So again, welcome to Expanding QuickBooks Online with Payments, Payroll, and Apps. My name is Kaydee Peterson. I own Peterson Business Services over here in Vancouver, Washington in the Pacific Northwest. I'm an advanced certified pro advisor in both desktop and online and co-author of our QuickBooks Online certification material. I'm also an author for apps.com and some other web publications about accounting technology where I get to write about third-party apps because my business specializes in third-party app implementation and business process streamlining. So we offer outsourced business accounting solutions, but we don't do taxes. So we really specialize in the process and the workflow and getting people set up with the right solutions for them to do their accounting and to run their businesses more efficiently. So our course today is eligible for 1 CPE credit. You must stay for the entire hour to get your CPE credit. During the middle of the webinar, we'll provide a CPE keyword. So we'll say a word that you need to jot down, and then at the end, we will put up a poll where you will choose that CPE keyword from a list, and that's how we prove that you were here and paying attention, and that's what will qualify you for CPE credit. I promise that I will show the keyword and that I will say it about 10 different times in different ways, and everyone will have equal opportunity to write that down, so try not to get distracted with a phone call or something else that's going on in your office so that you can get that and get your credit. Your CPE certificate will be emailed to you at the email address that you used to register for today's training within about 3 weeks from today. You'll also receive a follow-up email that has a link to the recording for today's webinar that you can reference later. If you downloaded the materials early, I actually don't know if this is the right link because we just made a change this morning. So if you did download the materials before today, it looks like it's Expanding QBO without the underscore in the middle now. We just made a little update to the deck this morning. So you can see that link in your questions box there so that you can download the most recent copy of today's deck. And that'll just be the slides that we have today. So today we're going to talk about apps and the increased adoption of apps. We'll talk about some Intuit apps, so Intuit Online Payroll, QuickBooks Online Payroll, which lives natively inside of QuickBooks Online. And then we're going to pause and talk about that for a minute. So if you have questions, we will stop after we talk about that and look at those. Then we'll talk about QuickBooks Payments. We'll stop again after that and look at questions. Then we're going to dive into apps.com. So we're going to go through some apps that we have featured today. And then I really want to kind of open it up to where if you have questions about specific apps or a specific need, we will have enough time today to kind of look at that. So just keep in mind, this is the flow that we're going in, and I will be the one pausing to look at your questions so that we can address them as a group. So just keep that in mind that I do have pausing points. So if you're asking a question, I will look at it and I will get it answered. You just have to wait for me to stop talking so I can read them. Okay, so our learning objectives today for CPE, we want to understand the need for integrated apps to help our small businesses work more efficiently. We're also going to identify Intuit's payroll and payment offerings that are native to QBO, and it says integrate with QuickBooks Online, but they really live inside of QuickBooks Online, even though you can use some of these features externally as well. Then we'll look at those third-party solutions that increase productivity, and we'll identify the process for adding an app to QuickBooks Online. All right, so let's talk about app use. I think at this point, anyone that's been in the industry for the last couple years has heard all about apps, and adding things on and all these third-party features. And today we're looking at it with QuickBooks Online. So if you were an existing desktop supporter or you are a desktop supporter, you may remember the Intuit Sync Manager and this little guy in the middle of this circle here that wants to throw his computer on the ground. That's how I felt about the Intuit Sync Manager. But with QuickBooks Online, and just in my defense, I do also use desktop as well, so I'm not preaching to you about how you should leave desktop. I love desktop too. But syncing third-party apps with QuickBooks Online is just so much cleaner as long as we're choosing our apps correctly, and that's very important too, understanding those integrations. So the important things to look at is how our data integrates, how things move back and forth. And those pain points that we're solving for are here on the screen. So not having to enter data twice is the main goal. So being able to enter it in one place and have that sync across all of the different systems that your business uses, or better yet, just finding that one system where you can customize permissions and features by user, sync that up with QuickBooks Online so that you have a really robust business management system. Maybe it has a CRM and an invoicing portal. and an inventory platform and this and that, whatever your client needs, where they can really operate in that third-party system, sync all of that relevant accounting data back to QBO so that you can get that reporting, and just have a nice consolidated GL platform that gathers all of that information. Okay, so here we have a little chart, and it's just about the adoption of apps, essentially. So I'm not sure how I feel about the number 9 at 2015, and I'm not really sure how they are qualifying apps, but you can see how the number of apps that small business owners use have increased over time. Personally, I think that 4 is a good cap for apps, and if you're fully educated on how apps can integrate with each other and how you can make a really nice app structure, then you shouldn't need 9 of them. I know it's really difficult. There's so many apps out there that it's hard to stay educated on everything. You can't know all there is to know about every single app, but you can have a general understanding of how integrations work so that you can ask those key questions and know what's really important for each project you take on that requires an app integration. So also, if you have a vertical niche, like you serve construction clients or inventory clients or online sales or whatever it is, then that narrows it down because you really only need to be super familiar with the apps that serve that. And I'll show you some resources later on apps.com where you can gather information fairly quickly on apps for certain subjects. All right, so here's our little pretty rainbow ecosystem chart here. So again, the point of apps is that they kind of work around QuickBooks Online. This slide actually needs to be updated down in the bottom left corner where it says Zencash. Zencash actually does not exist anymore. I missed that when I updated the deck, so sorry about that. But we've got all these different systems for running payroll, accepting payments, CRM, importing transactions from systems that might not sync with QuickBooks Online. Some proprietary systems, you have a client that really needs to stick with that, but it doesn't pull the data in, so maybe you can export a CSV and then get that in with Transaction Pro Importer. Sales tax management, project management, inventory, time tracking, AP, AR, these are all things that we can manage with apps depending on the needs of our client. So let's start out by talking about QuickBooks Online Payroll. So we'll just talk about some features of payroll, and then if you have questions about this, go ahead and drop those in the questions box, and after these slides, we'll stop and take a look. So turning on payroll in QuickBooks Online is super easy, and the slide is a little bit outdated as far as the left side navigation. But basically, there's a blue button that says Turn on Payroll. So it's really easy to get that turned on in QuickBooks Online. And then running payroll, once you have it all set up, is really simple. So we just have the Run Payroll button. You choose your pay schedule. You can sync information over from the time card. So if you're using QuickBooks Online Plus, you can have, be using those time cards. You can track billable time against a customer, mark it up, all those things, and even subcontractors can track time. With QuickBooks Online Plus, you get unlimited time tracking only users, which means you can have whole teams set up as time tracking users in QuickBooks Online where they only access their own time card. They can't see or touch anything else. They only get the time tracking module. So that really allows you to do all of that stuff internally. And we'll talk about some apps later like T-Sheets that also do time tracking that integrate with QuickBooks Online that add even more onto that. So things like GPS tracking are available with T-Sheets. Okay, so we've got some reports for payroll too. There's some reports in QuickBooks Online Payroll, also lovingly referred to as QBOP, that are just way prettier in QuickBooks Online. There's some reports that are not as pretty as desktop, but there's some that are way nicer. Like I really love their payroll tax liability report. It's just really nice and clean. But we basically have the reporting capabilities like we do at desktop. So here's 3 of the online payroll options for QuickBooks Online. So this first one, Client Runs Payroll, is QuickBooks Online Payroll. That's QBOP. So it lives fully inside of QuickBooks Online. All things are initiated from within QBO. You have those direct deposit features. You push the buttons to submit tax payments, or your client pushes the buttons to submit tax payments, file reports, all that stuff. So it's kind of like if you had enhanced payroll for desktop living inside the client file at the client's office. That's basically what QBOP is in comparison. Next we have IOP4A, which is Intuit Online Payroll for Accountants. So this is an online payroll platform separate from QuickBooks Online. You can log into it. You log into the payroll system, you set up your client accounts, they log into the payroll system. You can take everything over and do everything yourself, or you can give your client certain tasks and things that they have to do, like maybe they go put the hours in, but you do everything else, or they can, file forms. That's up to you. And then that information gets pushed back into QuickBooks Online, but the payroll module doesn't function, essentially. It's not living inside of QuickBooks Online. So this is like if you were using a third-party payroll product that syncs with QuickBooks. It's essentially the same thing, except for it's still an Intuit product. Okay, lastly, we have Intuit Full Service Payroll, and we also have QuickBooks Online Full Service Payroll, or QuickBooks Full Service Payroll. So now you can get Full Service Payroll, which is where you just enter hours. Intuit does everything else for you. They file the reports, they make the deposits, all that stuff. Intuit Full Service Payroll lives outside of QuickBooks Online as a separate platform. That's what you would use with QuickBooks Desktop or independently. And then what's now called QuickBooks Full Service Payroll does live inside of QuickBooks Online, just like QBOP, but it's full service. So you run all those reports from within QBO, and all of that stuff is managed there. Okay, so like I promised, we're going to stop and take questions on the payroll system because we always have people with questions about payroll. So let's see. And it doesn't look like anyone has any questions about QuickBooks Online Payroll. So if you do have anything about that, go ahead and put that in, and then we'll deal with that on the next question break. Cool. So let's go in to talk about QuickBooks Payments. If I can get my thing. There we go. Okay, so QuickBooks Payments lives inside of QuickBooks Online again. So to access that, you would go to the gear icon and go to Company Settings and click on the Payments tab. So you can sign up for a new QuickBooks Payments tab here, or Payments account here. Also, if you're converting from QuickBooks Desktop, you may have a QuickBooks Payments account if it's a newer merchant service account, or you might have the older Intuit Merchant Services account. The difference between those two things is just the way that the API works. So sometimes if you're converting to QuickBooks Online and you have an existing account, your account number might change. So for me, if I know that I'm moving over an older type of account and that it's going to change, I usually just call Merchant Services to make sure that everything goes smoothly. That's just kind of my thing if I know that it's an IMS account. So once you've turned on payments, you can use the online invoicing center and accept payments. So you can use online invoicing regardless of if you have payments turned on or not. But with payments turned on, it activates the Pay Now button with the online invoicing. So what that means is when you email an invoice out of QuickBooks Online, you can accept payment either by credit card or ACH. You get to choose which methods are acceptable for each invoice that you send. So you can email an invoice out to someone and say, this person can only pay by ACH, or this person can only pay by credit card, or this person can't pay me online, or they can pay me however they want. All of that stuff is adjustable each time you send it. And then your client opens this up. They can put their payment information in, and then they can even save their information with their Intuit ID so that they don't have to enter it every time. This is what that looks like. So the payment methods will show depending on the settings. So this one was set to allow payment via bank or credit card. And those credit card fees are going to depend on whether or not you have the monthly service, which is like $20 a month with I think a 2.4% maybe swipe rate or keyed rate. And then the pay-as-you-go, which does not have a monthly fee, has a higher percentage rate. It's like 3.1 or something. I'm not sure off the top of my head. And like 25 cents a transaction, I think they both are. Now for bank transfers or ACH or e-check or whatever you want to call it, it's only 50 cents per transaction all the time. So no monthly fee, 50 cents per transaction, good to go. And then that money is deposited directly into your bank. The payment is automatically created in QuickBooks Online, so you don't have to create that receipt payment transaction, and the deposit is also made automatically. They also create the expense side of the transaction automatically, which is the merchant fees. So once you've emailed the invoice, basically all of the transactions after that just magically appear, and you reconcile them out, and you're good to go. I like not having a lot of work there. Okay, so any questions about payments? look at that. Okay, so let's go back. All right, so we do have some questions that came in about payroll, so let's talk about those really quick. How do you match payroll with a direct deposit online? Oh, hang on a second, guys. I can see that my screen is doing weird things. Hold on. Sorry about that. Okay, let's try that again. Okay, how do you match payroll with direct deposit online? I'm not sure what specifically you're asking, so if you could clarify that question, that would be great. Is there a way to import transactions from IOP4A to QBO? So yes, the IOP has a sync. So IOP has a sync to QBO, and transactions will be imported. The thing is, they'll be imported, but they'll be imported just like you would import them from any other system. So it's just putting the transactions in. It's not processing through QuickBooks Online Payroll where you could go in and use all of those features in QBOP. So it's not like accruing taxes in QuickBooks Online and things like that. You're just looking at the transactions after the fact. So new full service QBO. So yes, QuickBooks Full Service Payroll is the new full service payroll option for QuickBooks Online. I'm just typing these answers in for everyone. Why should we use QBO Payroll instead of an external payroll provider like Accountants World? So QBOP is fully integrated. So if you have clients that want to that want to process things themselves or want to be able to run all of those payroll reports inside of QuickBooks Online, the only way you can do that is using QBOP. So it opens up the ability to use the time cards and all of that stuff just inside without having to use those third-party systems. So Intuit Full Service Payroll and QuickBooks Full Service Payroll are separate. Yes, and I know it's super confusing. So Intuit Full Service Payroll is the full service payroll option that's available outside of QuickBooks Online. So if you, let's say, they sell these products to everyone, not just us as accountants. So if you have a client who sees an ad online for full service payroll and they're not using QuickBooks Online, they're probably using Intuit Full Service Payroll. Or if you have a client who's using desktop with full service payroll, it's Intuit Full Service Payroll. But the fully integrated QuickBooks Online solution, which runs through the payroll module that we just looked at in QuickBooks Online, that's called QuickBooks Full Service Payroll. And I know that it's really confusing, but QBFS is the fully integrated QBO solution. So I'll put that in there. All right, the QBO payroll reports seem very limited, even simple things like printing payroll details. Any thoughts? So my thoughts on that are it's the same thing. It's like customizing reports in QuickBooks Online. The way that the customization window looks is inherently different than desktop. So it's really just about running the reports, like digging around in the reports and finding what you're looking for. There is one report that I know we all like to run in desktop that basically doesn't exist in QBO, and I can't remember what it is specifically off the top of my head. The reports essentially are available. They might just be in different places or called something a little bit different or look a little bit different and need to be customized a little bit to look the way that we're used to. Is there an extra charge for payroll where clients run their own payroll? No, the subscription cost for QuickBooks Online Payroll is the same for everyone. It's just one price. So it's whatever the cost of the plan that they're choosing and the cost of their quantity of employees. So there is no extra charge for them running it themselves within QuickBooks Online Payroll. Now the pricing might be different than using Intuit Online Payroll for accountants because that's priced differently and geared toward accounting professionals. Is it true that QBO Full Service Payroll cannot manage a 250-plus nationwide operation at state and local levels? I don't know the answer to that question because QuickBooks Online Full Service Payroll is relatively new. It just got out of beta a couple months ago. I have a couple clients on it, but not that do multi-state. For me, in my personal experience, the QuickBooks Online payroll solutions have not been sufficient for me for multi-state use, essentially, if you have a lot of multi-state stuff going on. And honestly, I've yet to find any online solution or even offline solution that really does multi-state really well, where they'll actually file every local report for every jurisdiction, for every state you work in. It's kind of just been one of those things where, okay, it looks like we're using enhanced payroll for desktop and we just have to do a lot of work. So I don't know the answer to that question for QB full service payroll, but I personally I'm not sure that I would look at that as a solution for that type of operation. Also because it's new and I'm just kind of like that for, I want all the kinks to be worked out. So I don't know. Sorry. I wish I had a better answer for that. Okay. So let's go in. Turn this back on. I'm using a different computer than I would normally use to present, so I'm a little slow with my buttons. So we're going to talk about apps, if I can make my computer do what I want it to do. There we go. Oh, let's do our CPE keyword. So our CPE keyword for today is cockatoo. It's a very beautiful bird there. So again, this is that CPE keyword that I promised everyone I would give to them and leave up on the screen so everyone has a nice equal opportunity to write this down and get their CPE. So cockatoo is the word, a nice frequently domesticated bird. Cockatoo will be the CPE keyword that you will choose at the end of the webinar to get your CPE credit for today. So again, cockatoo is the CPE keyword, and now we're moving on to apps. All right, so apps is my favorite thing to talk about, so feel free to bomb me with questions because we have plenty of time today to answer them. And we're going to start by introducing the App Center. So the App Center is available from the left side navigation from within QuickBooks Online or from going to apps.com. So if I just type in apps.com up here, it'll do an automatic redirect to apps.intuit.com, and I can search for apps. I can see all of these apps that are grouped in different ways. But what's really great is these app resources. So if you are looking just to get more information about apps, these articles are nice and short. They have relevant information about the apps that they're featuring, and they're really easy reads. So you can just skim through. So let's look at this one. I think that this is one that Hector wrote. So let's look at this. Yes, this is. So apps about your, is this? Let me see, what is this? Yeah, that's what this is. So Hector Garcia, who is a great trainer, wrote this article that features these different apps. So today we're going to talk about Method CRM for a moment. Here's a nice place where you can just get a little blurb about Method, click on the link, go into their app card. We'll talk about app cards in a minute as well. And now they've put out these, I'm just going to go over here and scroll down to the bottom. So they're working on grouping these apps together. So see how they've got these 6 app groups here basically. And they've just begun this, so they're not comprehensive yet at this point. But like if you want project apps, you can click here on project, and it's going to sort out these apps that have been identified as being good for project-based businesses. Now remember, the word project-based business is extremely vague because it could be construction, it could be professional services. You can see that they've put these in. And there's so many apps, like look at this, SaaSvault. The guy that built this app out, he's a good guy, first of all, but second, who knew that there was a need for a specific application for the asphalt industry? It does all these crazy like square footage estimations and stuff like that. So you can essentially use this for many different types of businesses once you understand how it works. It's not really just for asphalt. You can make it do what you want, but here it is. Crazy. I learned about that at a hackathon a couple years ago. Okay, so we've also got what they're working on is putting out these articles. So 5 QuickBooks apps for project-based businesses. So this is focused on that project-based group that we just looked at, and we go in here and look at 5 of them. So Maven Link, what's the best use case, etc., so on and so forth. And this is a great article, I can say so because I wrote it. But they're always putting stuff out, and it's really nice. So that's a great resource. We'll go out of that. Everyone knows where that is now. So again, from apps.com, just right here on the top toolbar, it says App Resources. So let's talk about the app card again. I'm going to click on Live Plan here. Notice it has this green icon in the corner with this trophy. So that means Pro Advisor Recommended right here. And what that means is if I go here to Reviews, at least I'm pretty sure that's where this comes from. So here we've got these Pro Advisor Reviewers. So the Pro Advisor Reviewers and these developer, these guys with the little golden things, the golden badges, those are people, there's a small group of people they have who review apps religiously. So these are people that the apps team calls upon when an app is new to the App Center or needs to be reviewed. And these people try and test the apps. They ask all the right questions. This is their thing. It's what they do. And they write these reviews so that you know that you're getting an unbiased review from someone who is experienced enough with app integrations and other applications to give something worthwhile of reading. It's not a competitor of the product or someone that works there, and they pin those up here for you to see easily. What's important about this is if there's apps that you're already using, you should go in here and write reviews for them because it really helps the community. Like, look at all these 5-star reviews. These things, this app is awesome. But when you write a review, make sure that you're specific in your compliment or your complaint. Don't just go in and be like, this app is awesome or this app sucks. Why? Help us out. Help out your peers to really know what it is before they go in. And that helps other people write better reviews as well. Okay, so I'm going to go back here to the first tab. So the nice thing about these app cards is that they're all formatted the same way. And all of the apps are required to list the same information. So they all have a video and some screenshots up here so you can flip through and check it out. They all have this information about themselves. Now some of these are really terrible. I'm just going to be honest about that. Some of these app cards just are super vague and don't give a lot of information. So if you're using an app and you go in and you see that it sucks, like tell them, be a good friend and reach out to the developers and be like, hey guys, I really love your app, but you really need to update your app card or change your app card because it really helps us get information about them. The reviews, we just covered that. What's really great about this too is they're all required to not only list out their pricing plans very specifically, but they're all required to offer some sort of trial. Might be a 7-day trial, might be 30, whatever it is, they're all required to give one to be listed on apps.com. So apps.com is the only place where an app has been tested and vetted by Intuit. You should never connect an app from any other source unless they're listed on apps.com. And that's how you know that they've lived up to Intuit security standards with QuickBooks Online and that they're good to go. Okay, but this is way easier than having to jump around to a bunch of different people's websites. Another great thing here is this support. So this is important because not all apps offer the same type of support. So here we've got this really simple tech support, but if we go and look at something else, like let's look up ServiceMate, one of my favorites. Oops, apparently I didn't put it in right. ServiceMate right there. Okay, so here if we go to support, you'll see email support is available right there. And then they have a network of ServiceMate partners to do support as well. So they really focus on providing accountant support, advisor and partner support, and allowing those end user support calls to trickle through the advisors. And then the advisors can reach out to them for help. And you can see it's an international phone number for support. And then they've got this online support, but they have dedicated people to help their advisors. So this is why that section is important. Okay, I'm going to check our questions again really quick. Let me go back to the home screen and see where we're at with those. Let me open this up. Sorry, it takes a couple clicks here. Okay, so let me go down. Is it true that QBO full service pay? Oh, we already dealt with that one. Let's go down. Okay, it doesn't look like we have an influx of app questions yet. Cool. So let's go back to our slide deck and see what we have here. So we're going to cover some specific apps. So the first one we'll talk about is Method CRM. So Method CRM is a very customizable QuickBooks CRM system. So it's a third-party app. They have a web-based system that will integrate with QuickBooks Online, but you can really customize these tabs and these forms. They have full certification programs to become a certified method advisor. They do a retreat every year. I think they only do one. They might do two. I'm not sure, though, where you can go to their office, and they have like 2 or 3 days of really intense training. Laura Redmond is another pro advisor who is very, very well schooled in Method CRM, as well as Greg Bosson, who helped them develop their nonprofit donations app that was a hackathon winner last year. So Lots of cool stuff in here. Let's go into the app card and check it out. So again, we can just go in here and type in Method CRM. Ta-da. Open that up. You can see it's 5 stars. Their Method Donor app. Let's open this up here. They're based out of Canada. You can see when we go in here, it's really easy to get a little overview. So here you can see we've got summarized information that bubbles up from QuickBooks Online. So we can see that they have estimates and invoices. Maybe we're creating those estimates and invoices in Method and then managing the way that information syncs back and forth. Here you can see this. This is their web-based platform. They've got these drag and drop fields, super easy to customize, no code to program. Look at all of this left side navigation bar over here is fully customized. These charts, what you want to see there, you can just do whatever it is you need to do. So there's actually people that just have their entire business based on method integrations and setups. I don't know if anyone's interested in that, not really my thing, but it just goes to show how robust this product is and all the things that you can do with it. Just some more screenshots here. So I'm going to go over here to reviews. We've got all this stuff. So again, it is, look at how long that is. Wow. So there are, like, it is so customizable that it's not, in my personal opinion, like a plug-and-play CRM, because there is all that, stuff you have to do to it. It probably, wouldn't take you more than a day to get customized the way you want it. And the nice thing is you can continue to move stuff around as you go. But if we go in here and just search for CRM, we'll get a lot of different options. So Legrand CRM, this is a newer, they've been around on desktop for years and years, but they have a new cloud-based solution. It's pretty awesome. Zoho CRM, this again, see how this says Connect by WorkAuto? That means it's a third-party integration. Oops, back.
Katie?
So if you're using those apps, oh, yeah.
Your screen is not moving.
Oh, all right, hang on, let me fix it. Doop. All right, let's go back. Okay, well, good thing I didn't show you anything super important. So I'm going to click back here. All right, so here's our method slide. Ta-da! Okay, don't worry. I didn't show anyone anything that wasn't worth missing. So here's just a screenshot of Method CRM, and this is the older interface, actually. So if you're an existing Method user, it could look like this. And then we'll go back in here and look at their app card again. Okay, so app card. All our pretty little screenshots, ta-da! All this information that bubbles in. Here's that new interface for the web-based system with that beautiful left side navigation, and you can see the little hand there, easy to move stuff around. And then we've got these graphs that we can move around and customize. So basically the point is all of this information is fully customizable. And then if I click on reviews, this is where I was saying, look at this giant review. So there really is a lot of information on here. And people that are method followers are like method diehard people. So you can go in there and check that out. Okay, that should basically summarize what we looked at. Now let's go in here to the CRM list. So Legrand CRM, this is the one that I was just talking about that has their new cloud-based solution. Or Zoho CRM by WorkAuto. So anything that says something by something else means that it's a third-party system that's providing that sync, like OneSaaS does a lot of those. I haven't looked at this one. I'm not sure what the sales pitch is. It's the anti-CRM CRM system. Not really sure. This Work Etc. CRM does really intense project management as well. I've looked at it before. It's got really robust project management as well as the CRM. So this solves more than one problem here, and it does billing. I think it might even do recurring billing and automatic billing, but I don't remember. It's been a while since I looked at it. So here's another Zoho CRM integration by OneSaaS. So like I said, this little by whoever, and they control the integration. So these two Zoho CRM integrations might not be created equally. You'd have to look and see, do they push the same data back and forth? Is one a one-way sync and one a two-way sync? Those are all things to look at there. Jobber is not really a CRM system. So Jobber is a field service management app that does mobile scheduling, route optimization, invoicing, really great for landscapers and people that have regular recurring stuff, drag and drop dashboard, all kinds of great things. But it also has a CRM. Therefore, it shows up when we search for CRM, even though it's not really just a CRM solution. Exact Online, same thing. So this has a couple of different platforms. It's an inventory app. They do a lot of different inventory costing types, but because it says CRM, it shows up here. So this is where it becomes important to kind of know what all of these things are and how they work. All right, Salesforce, everybody knows about that. And you can see now we're getting into things that are very obviously not CRM solutions. Okay, so let me go back here and see if we have any questions. Okay. All right. So I was told about an app that will show QBO in desktop mode. What app is that? Okay. So the QuickBooks, let's see, what do they call these? The QuickBooks apps, essentially, which let me just go in and show you guys this really quick. Switch it back over. Okay. So the desktop apps basically, let me see if I can get, what is it under? QuickBooks. Let me see, how do I find this thing? Google is a lifesaver. QuickBooks Online Desktop App. So what this is it's actually a browser. So basically, it's a browser that you install on your computer. Where is this thing at? I have a link to it somewhere. QuickBooks Online Accountant App. Is that it? Oh, here it is. So it's a browser that you install on your computer that you would open just like you open Google Chrome or Internet Explorer or anything like that. So it's able to just live on your computer with a quick button, and it gives you drop-down. Oh, these pictures are really not that great, are they? It gives you drop-down menus and looks a little bit more desktop-ish, essentially. So you can't really see it on here because the screenshots are not very clear. So let's see if we can zoom in on this. Features. Yep. All right, let's zoom in. And you can barely see it. But basically, there's a toolbar that goes across the top that has drop-down menus, just like QuickBooks Desktop does. You can see the left side navigation is still QBO. The entire body of the screen is still QBO. What's great about this is that you can still duplicate windows and have multiple windows open and spread them all across your screen, but it's still a live connection to the internet. It does not allow you to work offline and sync information back. It's literally just a QuickBooks branded browser that in some instances may allow you to get a faster connection to QuickBooks Online. Not everyone, it all depends on your internet. It works on both Mac and Windows. You can use it with QuickBooks Online Accountant, and it really just gives those drop downs. So if you're migrating clients to QuickBooks Online and you're really struggling with the whole navigation thing, this could be a great solution for you because it gives you those drop down menus. But that's pretty much the big difference there is dedicated browser, so you don't have those issues with your cache and cookies and Chrome users and all that stuff. And then, yeah, drop down menus. So hopefully that answered that. Now let me open the questions and see if I just confused everybody more, or if that was actually helpful. And, okay. So, and I'll paste this link in to the chat box too, since it was obviously not the easiest thing to find. Send all. Okay, got that covered. So yes, someone says we're talking about QBO, but they do make apps for the desktop. Oh, do they? Yes. Yes, they do. So the problem with the apps for the desktop is that they discontinued the Intuit Sync Manager, I believe. So the apps team they're really focusing on QuickBooks Online, so they've kind of slowed down the vetting process of apps that are created for QuickBooks Desktop. So yes, there are apps available for desktop. There are apps that integrate with desktop. I think LivePlan actually integrates with desktop. Transaction Pro Importer syncs with desktop. I believe Jobber syncs with QuickBooks Desktop too, but I'm not 100% sure about that, so don't quote me on that. T-Sheets syncs with desktop. There's Method CRM desktop solutions. So Avalara syncs with desktop, so does Bill.com. So a lot of these things do a QuickBooks Desktop sync as well. It's going to be a little bit different the way that that sync works. Okay, so let's jump back into our slides here and see what app we're going to talk about next. So Bill.com. And I don't know if anyone on the line uses Bill.com already, but you get a free Bill.com subscription as a pro advisor or a free accountant platform. Um, which one is it? I guess I'm not sure which one it is. Um, but you get a free subscription for your business, and then you can also get better pricing for your clients by being certified in Bill.com. Also, being certified in Bill.com gets you listed on their site. When people go to look for help, you show up as a certified advisor, which is great. And then, of course, you can use that Bill.com certified advisor logo. And I know that I'm not saying that right. That's not what the title's called, but whatever it is, you can use that on your website. So the nice thing about getting certified in third-party apps is you can then use those logos on your sites. Normally, they'll have some sort of certified thing for you to pin on there. And for us, what we found is when people are perusing the internet looking for assistance with certain things, if they hit our website and they see a logo for an app that they're using or that they want to use or that they're switching from or moving to or anything like that, they'll call us and they say, I'll say, how did you find us? Oh, I found you online. You had this logo and we used that and this other logo and we wanted that, so we decided to call you. So it really does make a difference to have those certifications. Even if the referrals aren't coming directly from the app websites, it really does have an effect if you choose to share that on your sites. So Bill.com is a great way to manage more complex AP processes in a third-party system. You can also manage receivables in here. We love this for nonprofits and for our techie clients that have people in multiple locations. So you can enter the bills, categorize them, map them to items, whatever, and then you set up approvers. So if you have, this person has, more than one person has to say yes, each of those people have to approve that. Or if you are paying bills for your client, you can set all of these up, and then they just check off the ones that are approved. Then you can submit payment for them. Super great. The integration is really nice. It works with a money in and money out clearing account. So when the bills are marked as paid in QBO, they're paid against Bill.com money out, and when the money is deducted from the bank, it also goes against Bill.com money out. And that's how you can reconcile the Bill.com transactions against the activity statement in Bill.com, which is really, really super easy to do, and I absolutely love that. Like, their reports are really clear. Really amazing audit trails. Even once something's been deleted, you can attach documents. It's got just regular document storage. You can scan, fax, email, drag and drop information into the system, and it's just really great. I love Bill.com. So let's see if anyone has questions about Bill.com. Doesn't look like they do. All right. Now remember, guys, we're going to have enough time at the end to really just open up about whatever you want. So if you do have some specific industry or app questions that you want to get to, you can go ahead and put those in now. That way I can allocate our time properly, knowing kind of what you guys want to know. All right, so Transaction Pro Importer, this works again with desktop and online. We're focusing on QuickBooks Online today, but just to let you know. So you can get all of this information in and just kind of sync it. So let's go over to the App Center again. So Transaction Pro Importer, that's TPI, Transaction Pro Importer, there it is. And the information that you can import, the last time I checked, was different with desktop and online. So here we've got transactions and list. It says no matter what kind of data, but I'm pretty sure it does matter what kind of data. So you basically make a CSV, you load it in, you map fields, and then it syncs in. So Transaction Pro Importer from QuickBooks Online, here you can see the different file types that you can put in. So this looks like invoices. So here we've got invoices. And then we've got, so you can see we've got the number, the customer, all this information in here. Now the caveat to this is, once you push the information in, you push the information in, so you really need to know how to use the app. And this used to be like the one solution for importing into QuickBooks Online. It is not anymore. There are competitors now out there, so if this is not your cup of tea, there are other things that you can look at. But you can see we've got a bunch of information here. There are many pro advisors that swear by this. It's their thing. This is the new one. I think this is the one that does an
Katie?
IIF. Yes. Oh, is
I
it not
think
moving again?
I think it's stuck again, yes.
Okay, hang on a second. Yay. Well, luckily for everyone, I'm not really showing anything that's detrimental to their ability to interpret information. So let's go back over here. Here's that TPI screenshot in case you didn't see that. This is the joy of like rotating computers in the office and trying to present webinars from different computers. Okay, so there's that. And then let's go back here to where we were in the App Center. Okay. So again, we've got the video here, and then this is just showing the interface. So the files that we can put in, Excel, CSV, the fields for importing invoices. And here we go, information being put in. And of course, here, this is what an error looks like, essentially. And ta-da, magic. Okay, so here it says lists and transactions. I know that there were limitations on transaction types previously, not really sure. And there is also a deleter for desktop, but I don't think that they have a deleter for online yet. This pricing is by file, I believe. Yeah, a single QuickBooks Online company file. And then, yeah, they're all for a single company file. So each of these would be separate subscriptions for each one of your client companies that you wanted to use it with. So FYI, that's important to know. So if we go down here, this is that new one that I haven't used yet, but I'm very hopeful about, and it looks like it's got this ProAdvisor recommended thing, so that's a good sign. So here we've got these different files that we can import. These are all CSVs. We've got mapping, so you can see it's basically the same type of layout. Now one of these, if we search for importer, claimed that it would do an IIF import in their QuickBooks Online. And that's what I was looking for. So I thought it was this one, but maybe it wasn't. So let's try searching for IIF. Because remember, you can't import. Oh, here it is. It's this one. Oh, look, there's two. See? This gets exciting. The way that the technology is growing is just amazing. So I haven't tested this yet, but I really want to. So you cannot import an IIF into QuickBooks Online natively because it just reads data differently. But apparently this one looks like you can. And if you can, and it works properly, because of course we always test everything before we use it, but the ability to import an IIF completely changes the limitation that you have for clients that are using proprietary desktop systems to run their business that do an IIF import to QuickBooks Desktop, which you have to have hosted or go on site or something like that. So if this imports an IIF correctly, now you have the option of allowing them to stay on that system that works great for their business, but still giving them remote cloud support for their accounting because you can pull that information and get it in. Now, remember, IIS and desktop, once you put it in your SOL, if it breaks, we do have Safety Net by Jobber, which I'll pull up. So people say that there's no QuickBooks Online backup, but there is, kind of. Oh, my keyboard hates me now. Okay, so when we look up Safety Net by Jobber, this was a hackathon winner last year at QuickBooks Connect, and this allows you to basically back up QuickBooks Online. So it archives all of the data. It's got all of these different data points. You'd have to call them to find out which ones are missing because I don't know. It grows in leaps and bounds every time I look at it. I have never heard of anyone actually having an issue with the restore, even though they say that sometimes there can be, recently anyway. So here you have this quick save. So basically what this does is it backs up all of your data points, and then quick load will restore those data points. So of course, test it. Test it with a sample company and make sure it does everything you want it to do. What we're hoping they do eventually is that you can quick load into a new company so that you can check it out before. So it's really cool. You can do this before you import an IIF. See how easy it is. Oh, that's what I wanted to look at. So these are the data points that it's backing up. So all these different colors. So like the first thing on this list is account. So it says we've backed up, this number of accounts, this number of classes, blah, blah, blah. All that stuff tells you how many, and then it loads them back in. It's pretty amazing. I really like it. All right, so pausing for a moment again to look at questions. See, I've got a TPI comment. I've used TPI several times in the last 2 months. Love it. Great. That is wonderful. I'm glad that it works for you. Like I said, these apps won't always work for everyone. Is the QBO desktop app available for the Canadian QBO version as well? That's a great question that I don't have the answer to. I assume yes. That's my assumption because it's literally just QBO with drop-downs. So I don't know 100%. My initial assumption is yes, but I've been proven wrong before. So maybe download it, try it, and let the world know if it works. Or if you just Google that, you might be able to find it. So there's things like the Sleater Report, an online accounting publication that you can subscribe to. Also, the QBO blog is very important. So you can go to the QBO blog and subscribe. And what that does is every time they roll out a new release, you'll automatically get the email. So like here, we've got, this is December 9th, so 10 tasks get you up and running, t-shirts. So here's our November update. So this is all of the notes about what came out in the November update. So if a button moves or something, so here's inventory tracking improvements, all this stuff that comes out, you'll know right away instead of logging into QuickBooks Online and being surprised that something is different. Okay, the next step we have on here is Avalara. So Avalara is, let me make sure my screen's changing. Okay, it looks like it is. So Avalara is a sales tax management app. So you integrate this with QuickBooks Online. The way that it works is when you create an invoice, it will, I believe it has a button in QBO where you push the button. I know how it works with desktop, but with QuickBooks Online, you push the button and then it will basically read the location and populate the tax rate, sync the information with Avalara, and then store all of that information in Avalara. So then you can prepare your sales tax reports from Avalara and know that all of your stuff is being paid properly. So depending on your state and the types of clients you serve, the way this functions will be different. So I live in Washington State where we have jurisdictional sales tax, and this can be very helpful. It's very helpful for e-commerce because it has integrations with e-commerce sites as well. So I personally I wouldn't integrate this product for a client of mine that only works in Washington State with jurisdictional sales tax because they're going to have to assign those rates anyway, depending on what they do, unless they only ship in-state, which would be a whole other ballgame. So someone that basically lives out of QBO, because they're going to have to push that button all the time. So people that do remote services, maybe not the best choice, but if you have someone that's in the office pushing those buttons all the time, accruing that tax, it's great. Really great for e-commerce, people that ship a lot. Now, something that this didn't do the last time I checked is sales tax inclusive. So like if you sell something for, $55 and that's tax inclusive, it doesn't have it didn't last time I checked, an option for that where it would pull the tax out, record the sale at the proper amount, which I think would be amazing. But FYI, side note of information. So again, if we go back to the App Center, we can look at that stuff here. Avalara is an absolutely amazing product. I think it'll have, let's just go to their website. I'm just going to do that because they have some really big companies they serve, and they're based out of Washington State, which is where I live, so of course that makes them even better. But you can see these giant companies that use them. Look at that, Coca-Cola, because it's so robust, but they have small programs and big programs. They'll manage those reseller certificates, all that fun stuff. Ta-da, pretty great. All right, let's see if anyone has any questions about that. Da-da-da-da-da. Okay, we're good. All right, so let's go close this out. Go back into our slides here. All right, so SOS inventory. I'm just going to give myself a little disclaimer here and say that next week on the 17th we have, if that's Thursday, I think it's the 17th, we have a webinar about inventory apps. It'll be featuring 3 apps. So SOS Inventory was like the original inventory app for apps.com. It's got all this stuff, but it's really not the only solution anymore. We've got a lot of different solutions for inventory. So what I'm going to do instead is I'm just going to open this up and kind of breeze through some of these. So SOS right here, great for manufacturing. We've got Deer Inventory, which will do different valuation methods because remember, QuickBooks Online only does FIFO. So this has these different integrations for online resellers. we've got a few down here. Oh, that's a really short list. I wonder why it's so short. So apparently there are a bunch that are missing here or that just don't. All right, so let's change this. Maybe if I go to the home screen. So this is what I'm saying about the app cards not necessarily having all of the things listed all the time. But there's Exact Online that we looked at a little bit earlier. Exact Online. Boom. So Exact Online has those different types of platform that you can get. So you can get like the manufacturing platform, or there's a couple other ones. So this dashboard I think has been updated since these screenshots were taken, because I just saw this a couple weeks ago and it was way nicer. Oh great, my computer just flashed. Hopefully that didn't negatively affect you guys. Okay, looks like you can see. Okay, so we've got, this is all customizable, these dashboards that you can customize. I don't think it's fully customizable, but you can see it's got the QuickBooks integration stuff there. So this is a really great solution for inventory and custom manufacturing. And then we've also got Unleashed, which should be showing up on here as well. Unleashed, so this is another inventory management system. So the things you need to know here is like which apps do kitting, which apps do custom builds, what does FIFO or FIFO or LIFO or average cost. All of that stuff is important. So job costing, we've got back orders, so all these things. And then we've got things like the Cloud Cart connector, which are, we go Cloud Cart. So they have individual apps for these various systems, or they have this one, which will, connect a whole bunch of systems. So if you're an online retailer, you can sync all that stuff up. It's just the possibilities are endless with the things you can do. Okay, Maven link for project management. For this, I will refer you back to those app resources where we talk about the different apps that you can use for project-based business. So again, that was right here, app resources. And then we've got this project-based business article, and we're just going to use this instead of digging through the App Center. So we've got Maven link here. I use this for a period of time. I know some pro advisors that use this to run their entire business. So they can go in here, use that. Arrow is focused on our industry. Bill Quick has multiple cases and even specific cases for architects, engineers, and the law industry. Builder Trend for construction. Service Mate for field service management. I'll just let you guys look at that at your leisure. And then what else do we have? Invoice Sherpa. I just put this one in here. This one is really cool. You can find it on the App Center as well. What I really like about this is since the last time I looked at it, they came out with these customer portals that are fully, that have the whole invoice history. So it'll send out your invoices. You can send out reminders. You collect your payments. They have a customer portal. It'll add late fees. It'll send thank you cards, all that fun stuff. So again, that's for AR. And then T-Sheets, we talked about this earlier. Oh, that's funny. Look at that. The screenshot isn't changing when I duplicate the thing or when I move it. Okay, so T-Sheets, again, time tracking. So very robust. It will pull in your entire customer list. It will pull in your item list. You can mark time as billable. You can add notes. You can create departments. You can manage all of the GPS points that people log in from. People can clock in via text, Twitter, and a phone app, or online. You can track PTO. You've got all these different access things, so certain people can add new customers and other people can't. Just really robust and customizable. You can basically use it for simple time tracking or super robust time tracking. It's up to you. All right, so here's just a little summary of the things that we went over, some of the different apps that we looked at and the things that they can be used for. And again, make sure you download the slides for today's webinar so you can check that stuff out. All right, adding an app to QuickBooks Online. You log in as the master admin. Then from the left side navigation, you click on Apps from the bottom here. That'll open up the App Center internally. You click on the app you want to open, just like how we did in the App Center, and then you click on that Try It Now or Buy It Now button right here, Get App Now. So this will be inside of QBO. This button will still appear, and then you push that and follow the prompts to get hooked up. If for some reason you can't get connected from within QBO, you can do it here from the App Center. All right. We talked about some of the free programs for QuickBooks Pro Advisors. You can access that information in your Pro Advisor portal. And here's a summary of our learning objectives. Now we just need to do our CPE keyword poll, and I'll put that up while dealing with the final questions that are coming in here. So if you have a question, I will stay on the line to answer them. And if not, let me put our poll up here if I can find it. There it is. And launch. And thank you all for bearing with me and my issues using an alternate computer than I would normally use. All right, question time. So, is there an HR app that stores candidate information and documents? That's a great question. So, there are HR apps that do things like benefits and reviews and stuff like that. As far as hiring, I'm not 100% sure. So, Zen Payroll has an HR add-on solution for benefits, and then there's Zenefits, which does benefits as well. Imagine that. So we would have to look that up. So let me look in the App Center, and I just look up hiring. You can search for keywords. So let's look up hiring. And I know you guys can't see it, but don't worry, I'll tell you what I find. So I've got wage point, that's payroll. Float is not that at all. So yeah, I don't know. It doesn't look like it, so not to my knowledge. One of the concerns I have is that the app environment is always changing. If we spend a lot of time getting one going, how likely is it that it will disappear in a month? Okay, that's a great question. So also the next question that came in about QBOA, I will answer that question momentarily as well, so stay on the line. Okay, so about the app environment, and Charlie Russell, who specializes in inventory solutions, put this really well at a session I was at a few weeks ago, and he was talking about how a lot of, there's a significant amount of these developers that are making these cloud apps that have desktop solutions. So these are developers that have been around for a long time that have a foothold. And that's definitely an important thing to consider because they do go in and out. Some of them do, and some of them will always stay. So like Exact Online had a desktop solution and built out. Method had a desktop solution and built out. T-Sheets was a desktop solution and built out. So there definitely is a certain point of vetting, and you really just have to ask people that. Ask them. Ask your salesperson, and if you feel like your salesperson is too salesy, ask to talk to an actual developer. You have leverage by not being an end user, and by being a pro advisor, you have more leverage to gather the information that you need when you're talking to these reps. They will escalate your call to someone who's smarter than them, or who, not necessarily smarter, but can answer your questions more specifically because you are an accounting professional. Okay, so the question about the app button not working in QuickBooks Online. So I've seen the app button not work in the Your Book section in QBOA when you have certain features from QuickBooks Labs turned on. FYI, so that's for the Your Book section in QBOA. As far as when you log into a customer company or a client company and you don't see that, the reason you don't see that is because the suggested method of syncing apps is to do it when logged in as the master admin, because when we as accountants have our Intuit ID associated with all of these clients and we're adding apps everywhere, the apps are associated with our Intuit ID, and that was causing some issues with technology on the back end with words bigger than I even know how to use, but that's why. However, you can make the apps show up if you are the master admin, and the only way you can get into a client company is through QBOA. You can go into QuickBooks Labs and turn on the alternate centers, which changes the way your left side navigation work and will make the apps button show up on the left side nav. And then you can connect your app, and then you can change your centers back if you want. So that is all I know about that for now. So let's see. I've got another one here. Okay, so I think that answered your question, Starla. Yay, good. Okay, I've just started working with a company that wants to begin using Method, but I've never explored it. Are there any training resources? Oh man, that's a great question. I would recommend just contacting them. They have some really great people that work there. Like, I love their entire team. They're super awesome. They have a whole education department for advisors, and they're really good at answering questions. They'll give you a demo. Um, Most of these apps will, they'll go in and give you a demo, and you can just check it out for yourself. So that would be my recommendation with them. And they are eager to work with pro advisors, so you shouldn't have any problem getting them to provide information to you. So, the developers want to sell their product, and they know that their best route to do that is through us, because we serve multiple clients, so they will gain more success by having good relationships with pro advisors than they will struggling to make those with the end users independently. All right, so if anyone has any more questions about any apps or app-specific things, go ahead and drop them in now. If you've entered your CPE keyword and you are done, you can go ahead and go. I'm just staying on now as a courtesy to anyone who has any additional questions about any specific apps or industries, or what do I use for this or that. Also, I'll put my blog address in here because I do have some blog posts that are about, let's see, it's makeaccountingfun.blogspot.com. So there's some information there about building effective app ecosystems with QuickBooks Online, how to sync things together and look at apps. And then also apps.com has webinars that are through Intuit Academy, or Accountant University is what it's called now. So just like you signed up for this one, you can go there and sign up for app webinars through the same place. So let's see. All right, well, I don't see any other questions coming in, so I think that I'll log off. I'll give you guys about another 30 seconds to make sure that no one's in the middle of typing a question. And yeah, you can also follow me on Twitter, which of course you can always reach out to me there to ask me any questions about apps and see the things that I have to say about them. The recording will be emailed to you, so you'll get a thank you email for joining the webinar today, which will have a link to the recording so that you can download that and watch it again whenever you want, even with all of the slide pausing, so it'll be really entertaining. All right, everyone, thank you for joining me today. I hope that you all have a wonderful rest of the week, and to see you on a webinar again soon.